Welcome to the Political Matrix News. Politics, people, local, regional, national news. Political Matrix News keeps you informed. We have the sources, we have the truth from inside the Political Matrix.
Hello, this is Greg Fink here with the Political Matrix News broadcast. We are joined here tonight with Elijah Manley. He's our new addition here, our new consultant in the middle here. He's down there in South Florida, holding the fort down in the Miami area. He has a company called Benchmark Strategies, and he also works with the Political Matrix as well. And we have our wonderful, beautiful person here, Tiffany Houston, who is the brains of the outfit. A little soft-spoken, but she's getting a lot better with that. I'm just kidding with you. Just relax. Anyway, but we are really having a lot of fun trying to bring everybody out of their shell and get them to talk about different situations and different topics that are just not regular kitchen table topics. And so, what we're trying to do here with this blog is bring a different take of what consultants and people who actually work in the industry feel about the issues of the day, rather than people who more or less just report on it on a daily basis. And so today we're going to start out talking about Ukraine and the vote on the Ukraine funding and Speaker Michael Johnson and how he's basically obviously is not afraid of losing his speakership to the Matt Gaetzes and the Marjorie Taylor Greens of the world. And so he's really pushing. I mean, after he pushed the FISA issue, he won on that. And now he's pushing Ukraine funding. I think he's going to win on this year also. And so I think he's going to go ahead and buck the conservative, radical, crazy group of the Republican Party, the Matt Gaetz 20. And I think he's going to handle it pretty good. What do you think, Elijah?
Yeah, I think he'll be all right. I think I've seen quite a bit of Democrats stating that they, vote to back Mike Johnson up because, unlike McCarthy, he actually made an effort to reach out to Democrats, the Democratic caucus, and ask them, how they could work together on getting the aid that Ukraine needs, and work something out when it comes to the Israel aid. And so,
so you're saying that basically Johnson was reaching out to Democrats because that seems to be, kind of what everybody. I mean, that seems to be why they're angry with McCarthy in the first place, because him
McCarthy,
reaching out olive branch out. But you're saying Johnson, you think, is reaching out more so than McCarthy did?
McCarthy never really reached up to Dems. He was pretty much like, I will never, let the Dems save me. And I think that pissed a lot of people off in the Democratic caucus. And that's why you didn't see not one member of the Democratic caucus vote to save him when, he was removed and put on the altar. But Johnson is willing.
I haven't seen any Democrats come up for Johnson yet.
I've seen a couple. I've seen Jared Moskowitz. I've seen a couple others. And a few other states who said that they want to kind of put an end to the Matt Gaetz embarrassment in the House.
Right.
So they're going to back Johnson up because he's been willing to talk to Democrats. And I think the Ukraine aid is definitely the thing that he used as leverage.
Now, I haven't really read the bill yet totally. I mean, in the Ukraine bill, is there any funding for the Israel situation of the Palestine Hamas at all?
There's a couple provisions in the legislation. Originally, they wanted to do a package with everything, and a TikTok ban,
which is a bad idea.
And a lot of people wanted to break that aid apart, and just vote on it individually and see what happens because it could pass or not pass individually, but putting everything in one package like that was not really a good thing. A lot of people voted for it. Voted against
I think it's a dangerous idea because whenever Border Patrol has nothing to do with Hamas control or Israel control or Ukraine, I mean, and so I think with all the different issues being so dramatically different, I think the funding needs to be following that same pattern. Tiffany, what do you think?
Well, I just want to say that I am really, I'm impressed with MAGA Mike, that he admitted he's willing to take MAGA Mike, that's what I call him, that he's willing to take personal risk for.
I think he's separating himself from the MAGA party pretty good.
Well, that's why I'm saying I'm really surprised because I've called him MAGA Mike, but here he's finally he's wanting to do the right thing. He's quoted saying, "I'm willing to take personal risk for that because we have to do the right thing and history will judge us." So that shows leadership right there.
My only
And
issue
that's
with the
something
Ukraine
that
issue is that I'm worried about the corruption. I mean, are you worried about that? Of the whoever gets the money, Ukraine being corrupt, Tiffany?
I don't think that is in my opinion, I don't think that's an issue. I know there's been talks about people, in Ukraine that there's corruption and we don't know where the money is going. But, actually, we do know where the money is going. We know that money is going to buy weapons. A lot of those weapons from arms companies, our defense contractors here in the U.S., and we're providing weapons that they need to fight off Russia. And so I know that, there are folks like the Marjorie Taylor Greens who's falsely stated on Twitter that, billions of dollars are ending up in Ukrainian oligarchs' pockets and stuff that I don't know where any of this comes from, but we can actually trace where this money is going. And a lot of it is going to our people.
And that's a really good point you bring up, Elijah. The loud people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Matt Gaetz, they push Kremlin talking points. You watch Russia TV, it's the same talking points that these people are pushing. And so you have to wonder, well, how much credibility do you give this chaos caucus for what they say regarding corruption in Ukraine? And, when the time is right, I would love to be able to talk about corruption in the United States, specifically in Florida. So,
Well,
but
actually,
that's for
I was going
another
to dovetail
time.
back into that. I mean, Elijah's in Miami area. You were over here in Navarre. You are very familiar with the corruption of the Gulf Coast with the Matt Gaetz district. And so, I mean, that's in my opinion. I mean, we know they're buying the weapons from arm dealers and everything else. But I mean, is 100%? I mean, if there's a problem with the audit, I mean, we talked about auditing the money before. Everybody's like throwing up a whole bunch of red flags, like we don't want to audit this, we don't want to track this, we all want to be, just trust them. We just what they're doing. And I mean, that's not really a good idea. I don't think. I think we have to audit everything here in America as well. Whenever we give our own defense agency funding and missiles and weapons and everything else. I mean, I was in the military. Tiffany, you're in the military. And so you know how we do a lot of self audits on our own military whenever we're in action. So I don't really see what the problem is with asking, Ukraine to prove what they've done with the money as being a problem.
Yeah, so there's a couple things. I mean, we definitely should be auditing the Pentagon as well.
I'm talking about Ukraine.
Audit, but
I'm talking about Ukraine, though.
Right. But when it comes to Ukraine and that issue specifically, I think it's just kind of important to look at who the actors are that are bringing this up and what their agendas are and their rhetoric and where that's leading us. And we know Marjorie Taylor
But you still need to follow the money.
And Matt Gaetz are not. They don't.
Yeah, I know, but you can't just keep on going back to the actors who are bringing it up. Greg Fink's bringing it up, and Greg Fink's a good guy. So I like to know where the money's going.
And it's valid. I mean, it's okay to ask the question, but the solution, the end goal, can't be get rid of all funding for Ukraine.
No, it's not. It's accountability.
Bulldoze over. And so, I mean, I'm okay with even if we're not giving them
money.
But
that's a Democrat conflating point of where you're basically saying that
a lot of the aid that we're providing Ukraine isn't liquid cash. A lot of it is the materials as well. We're giving them,
we're giving warlords materials so they can go ahead and
giving them the tanks. And so when we're giving them this material, that's not money going to Ukrainian oligarch. It's not. What are they going to do with the tank? I mean,
they're going to sell it to terrorists.
I don't. Do you have to have evidence for that? I'm gonna have to disagree with you there.
Unfortunately, you're right. You'd have to have evidence, and I live over here in Gainesville, Florida, and I'm not a globetrotter to find out.
They're giving it to. What terrorist group are they giving it to? Because if they were selling it to Hamas is not driving U.S. tanks. I think we would be worried if we saw that.
I think they were talking about ISIS and Taliban and Hezbollah and everything else having access to American weapons because they were being sold to them by the Russians as well as by the Ukrainians. And so I think both sides were basically trying to offload weaponry to go ahead and make up for the economy that is lacking in both countries. But that's just rumors, though. There's no verification of that.
Yeah, I have to see some evidence of that, but I still think, beyond that issue that we still, and then I'm glad Mike Johnson did this, providing our ally with the resources they need to fight back against Russia. And I don't even know how that is like an issue right now. I think everyone in the
and it shouldn't be an issue. I mean, Russia should be, project enemy number one. And I'm very glad the Democrats have finally joined the Republican Party. Well, actually, let me correct myself. I'm glad the Democrats have replaced the Republican Party and making Russia the number one enemy. Because back in the 80s, when Ted Kennedy was working with the Russians against Reagan, and in the 90s when they were loving Yeltsin so much against all the American ideas and everything else, it's a good thing that the Democrats have finally realized that communism and socialism and big government ideas is a very bad idea. And so I'm very happy that they have done that to a degree, to where they're at least against Russia and against communism. So I'm very much applauding on that idea.
Right. And it just really begs the question if they're willing to throw Ukraine under the bus. What
exactly.
are they?
They'll probably go next. Yeah.
When it's China and Taiwan.
Exactly.
And we have a agreement there to protect our ally. And so we can't just hand the world off to Russia and China.
Tiffany, how you want to close on this?
I mean, you guys are making excellent points. I don't really have anything, because that's pretty much my mindset, what you guys have just discussed.
Right. Well,
because, Ukraine falls, that NATO is vulnerable to Russia, and that is just, it's very difficult to even imagine that. So
right, I agree. I mean, I think this is, I think, a time where we see a lot of Republicans and Democrats finally agreeing on a very important national issue. We have to stop Putin. Putin can't be allowed to go forward. And I personally, our family has a personal beef with Putin because my uncles and aunts were both, I had two uncles and two aunts who were smuggling Bibles into Russia back in the 60s and 70s, back when Putin was working with the KGB. And he actually put a hit on both of them. And so he failed. And they survived. Wow. But I mean, anything with Putin being in charge needs to stop. He needs to be eliminated from the leader of Russia, and the entire movement needs to be put down. So I'm glad everybody's in agreement with that. Okay, guys, we're gonna go ahead and take a real quick break here, and thank you so much for tuning in to the Political Matrix News, and we'll see you soon. Bye bye.